Hi, everyone. We're back talking about my top 50 favorite horror movies. And I'm at number 12. And this is a tie that it's two movies that came out this year. And it's my favorite film of the year, followed very, very closely by my second film of the favorite film of the year. But I wanted them to share this spot, this number 12 spot. The first is Sinners. That's my second favorite film of the year, and it takes place in 1932, and it is about music. It basically, the gist of the film is that a young musician's music is so powerful that it actually opens the realm between um, the living and the dead. It opens the realm of the other world, and it actually lets evil in. So it's about the power of music, and specifically in this case, blues music. It features a wonderful performance in a dual role by Michael B. Jordan, and also Delroy Lindo is on hand in a very charismatic performance as a washed up musician who is trying to get his mojo back. And it has a another good performance by an actress I've just discovered, Winnie Musaku, who plays my favorite character, a voodoo priestess named Annie. And don't let voodoo priestess fool you. She's actually a very sympathetic character and a lot wiser and more knowledgeable about how to defeat the evil than pretty much everybody around her. And just, I heard the Nostalgia Critic um, watched his review of Sinners, titled "So I Finally Saw Sinners." So after he saw it, the buzz around the movie had started to die down. But he said something in his review that really brought home why I was so attached to this film. And that is that as he gets into it, and the first part of the film is more of a historical drama than a horror film. And he said that he realized he didn't want anything bad to happen to these people. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. I don't want anything bad as you start to get to know the characters, as you meet them one by one and get to know a little bit about them. You don't want anything bad to happen to them, and yet you know that that's exactly what's going to happen. That these are characters who are about to be confronted by a monstrous evil, and some of them will not come out alive. I'm not going to spoil the fates of any of these characters because a lot of you may not have seen the movie, might be holding back from the movie, waiting for streaming. It is now on HBO Max, so some people might not have seen it yet. I'm just going to say that it really warmed my period movie loving, music loving heart to watch this story unfold. And then we come to my favorite film of this year, which I just saw, and it shares the number 12 spot, and that is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Now, this movie is not any more a faithful adaptation of Mary Shelley's novel than the original Frankenstein trilogy of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Son of Frankenstein were. So if you're looking for fidelity to the novel, this movie is likely to disappoint you. But if you are a fan of Guillermo del Toro, which I am, and you love period 19th century Gothic horror, and you really like to see some strong performances in horror films, this one is going to win you. It has a strong performance by Oscar Isaac as the scientist, Jacob Elordi playing the creature as he's billed in the credits. So, not called monster generally, but the creature. And You also have Christoph Waltz playing a supporting role. And probably the best supporting performance, or at least my favorite supporting performance, comes from David Bradley, who plays a blind man that the creature bonds with. This is actually a take on a character from The Bride of Frankenstein that was later parodied in Young Frankenstein. And it's really a beautiful performance. It's the first time the creature has experienced kindness. So those performances are really the ones to watch. I really liked the way the female lead Elizabeth was written, although I thought maybe it could have been cast a little bit better. I thought Mia Goth may have been just a tad miscast. I'm not sure. Maybe Anya Taylor Joy. I think she would have crushed that role. But nonetheless, the character is well written enough for me to really enjoy her as well. So, also, got to give a shout out to Alexander Alexander Desplat's score. This movie has the best musical score I've heard all year, whereas Sinners has the best soundtrack I've heard all year. So they really do fit together in a neat kind of way, both coming out just this year and really being two movies that I fell in love with this year. I really hate it when I go through a year, because I have on occasion in recent years gone through a year where there hasn't been a movie that has really stolen my heart. Well, I don't have to worry about that this year because of Sinners and Frankenstein, the movies that share my number 12 spot. Next up at number 11 is The Wolf Man, starring Lon Chaney Jr. and Claude Rains and Maria Ouspenskaya and um, Evelyn Ankers as the love interest. And it is the most tragic. Well, you can maybe argue a little bit for The Bride of Frankenstein, which is coming up later on my list, but Larry Talbot, the Wolfman, is presented to us very sympathetically, and we see him gradually falling apart as the curse of the werewolf overtakes him. And one of the MVPs in this movie doesn't get a lot of credit is Claude Rains. Claude Rains, he's pretty much awesome in everything. He's been in some really crappy films that didn't deserve him, but he is always worth watching. And in this film, he plays the father of Larry Talbot, who's played by Lon Chaney Jr. And while it does strain credibility to the snapping point that Claude Rains could ever have sired Lon Chaney Jr., the way he presents this father character, a man who loves his son and is heartbroken to see what is happening to him and is desperate to bring him back from what he thinks is a mental disorder. And then at the end of the film, the look on his face will haunt you. So, a classic film all around. It's got a really good musical score. Not perhaps quite as great as Max Steiner's score for King Kong or Franz Waxman's score for The Bride of Frankenstein, but still, it's a good score and it really fits the movie well, and definitely worth a look if by any chance you have not seen this already. So at number 11, The Wolfman. Number 10. Now I have finally reached my top 10. And the number 10 spot goes to the 1945 portmanteau film Dead of Night. You have a group of characters in a frame story and various stories being told and enacted. And the stories are not all equally powerful and strong, but just the whole of them together, the whole film together, is well worth a watch and definitely creepy. My favorite segment is actually the third segment in the film called The Haunted Mirror, and it concerns a fiance, a soon to be um, husband, a soon to be bridegroom, who receives a present from his soon to be bride, a mirror that she bought at an antique shop. And he starts to see in the mirror visions of another life and another time. And he starts to become obsessed with the mirror, with the room in the mirror, and his personality starts to change as he falls more and more under the mirror's spell. He starts to think more and more like the man who originally lived in that room in the mirror. So, wonderful bit of gothic horror as you look through that mirror and see a pre-Victorian four-poster bed and wall panelings. And ooh, I love stuff like that. So that's my number 10 pick. Number 9 is Faust, directed by F.W. Murnau, released in 1926, which is one of the finest examples of fantasy horror ever put on film. You see Faust as an old man who actually sells his soul to save his city from plague. That's a little bit more of a sympathetic motive than we're used to seeing in this story. But he becomes young and handsome, falls in love, and eventually loses his love. And what happens to the two of them is heartbreaking. The last word in the film is actually love. So it's one of the more romantic horror films you're likely to see, and certainly a wonderful example of pure cinema artistry bringing this fantastic story to life. So almost out of time, and I think that maybe two more videos might be needed. So I'm going to stop here for right now at number 9, and I'll pick back up with number 8 momentarily. Thank you very much for your patience, and again, if you're fascinated by all this stuff as I am, like and subscribe to my channel for more geeky stuff. I'm looking to grow my channel and loving the support that I get. Thank you very much.